Do you want to hear something pretty insane? When I started wholesaling real estate, it took me about 45 days from knowing absolutely nothing to being able to get my first wholesale deal under contract at $328,000 and sell it at $350,000. And in that first year, in about 12 months' time, my team and I wholesaled and flipped over 50 deals, with the overwhelming majority being from the MLS, which is the multiple listing service. And that means we spent $0 in marketing costs for those deals. Now, since then, my partners and I, we've done more wholesales and fix and flips, as well as buy rental properties. But the best part is that today, I want to save you over 10 years of trial and error and show you what I believe to be the fastest way to get your first wholesale deal with $0 marketing cost. So first, I'm going to cover the 5 steps to the fastest way to your first wholesale deal without spending any money on marketing. And then we'll cover the vital tips needed in order to succeed with this strategy. So stay till the end because these are absolutely crucial for you to succeed with this. Let's dive right into it. Step 1 is finding on-market distressed leads. And so that we're both on the same page, I'll break down the wholesaling process at a high level. So first off, what we want to do is find these distressed leads. We're going to find houses that are distressed. Then 2, we're going to get that house under contract below market value. And 3, we will then sell the rights of that contract to a cash buyer who will fix and flip the house. And then 4, we're then going to close on that deal and get paid a wholesale fee for facilitating the transaction. And remember, we want to do this without any marketing costs. And I've been there buying and sending mailers. I've been there buying and putting out bandit signs on the side of the road. I've been there buying and paying for the ads. But to truly get deals with $0 marketing cost, there's nothing better than going directly to the agent. So there are off-market strategies, and these are called direct to seller because you're talking to the homeowner directly. And then with on-market property, you're actually talking direct to agent. You are talking to the agent who's in charge of selling the property for the seller. And why I like these properties so much for wholesaling is that I don't have to spend anything on marketing when I'm going directly to the agent. Well, here's a very important stat from the National Association of Realtors that I want you to understand. 89% of home sellers worked with a real estate agent to sell their home, 7% sold via FSBO, and less than 1% sold via iBuyer. So we like to focus on the 89%, which is a large ocean of working with real estate agents, rather than focusing on the small sliver of 11%. So what does on-market mean exactly? It means a property listed for sale publicly by a real estate agent. That means it's on the market. And what the MLS is it's the multiple listing service. It's a database of all on-market properties and is created and maintained by a real estate professional. So as a pro wholesaler and professional real estate investor, we always encourage you to get access to the MLS, and you can watch my video here on how to do that. But for today's video, I'm going to show you the next best thing on how to find on-market leads that you can wholesale without spending any money on marketing. We're going to be using an online website called redfin.com. So what the heck is redfin.com? Well, Redfin is actually a smart real estate brokerage that created a website that has a lot of these on-market properties on it. And how an agent puts leads on Redfin is that the agent now usually lists a property on the MLS, meaning they actually upload it to it. Then they click a button that says syndicate to Redfin, Zillow, and these other websites. So Redfin is a great option to target on-market leads that we're going after that don't require any money on marketing. Now keep in mind, not all leads that are on the market are going to be on these free websites, and sometimes the information is a little hard to access, but it still works for our purposes. So for this step number 1, we're going to find properties that are in a distressed condition and hopefully find sellers that are in a distressed situation. A distressed condition means an outdated property, has deferred maintenance, like torn up flooring, unkept landscaping, and is in need of a remodel. And a seller in a distressed situation is when the seller has motivation to actually sell their property, such as going through a divorce, getting laid off from a job and needing to move quickly, they just can't afford their mortgage payment, a death in the family, and so on. And I want to make it very clear that we're not going after every single house that's going to be on the market. Right? There's a beautiful house being sold in the mountains over here that's $5 million that doesn't need any fixing on it. We're not going to be going after that particular property. It's beautiful, it's updated, doesn't need any renovation. And once again, it's because there's little to no likelihood that you're going to be able to get that beautiful home under contract and sell it because the seller has no motivation to sell to an investor for cash, and you're going to be wasting your time pursuing it. And you can try it, but I'm telling you, you're going to absolutely waste your time. And ask me how I know. Now for this step, I'm going to go show you on my computer exactly how to find on-market distressed leads with no marketing cost. All right, now we're going to dive into redfin.com. So on redfin.com, you want to go here, and then what you want to do is type in your actual county name, the county name where you plan on wholesaling. And I don't want to look in just one city. I want to look at the whole county because there's buyers buying in the whole entire county. And typically when you're just looking at one city, it's too small of a pool, right? So we like to look in the whole county. So go search Riverside County. Beautiful, and now we're there. And we need to adjust the filters at this particular point in time because I'm not looking for all the houses on the market, right? I'm not looking for the beautiful $2 million home that doesn't need renovation. We're looking for fixer-uppers. So what we want to do is first go to home type right here, go to house, because we're only looking for houses, right? We're selling houses. For sale, you can click on this. Just make sure that coming soon and active is marked. That's what you want. And now for filters, what we want to do in filters is go down here and select fixer upper. So once we have fixer upper, it's now showing all the active and coming soon properties that are fixer uppers on Redfin, and that's what we want. So Redfin has an algorithm that's going to say like, hey, this property is a fixer upper. It has the verbiage that shows it's a fixer upper. It has the photos that look like it's a fixer upper. And the agent that's listing this property may have also listed and said that this property is a fixer-upper. So all good signs for us. And there's multiple other ways to find houses like this on the MLS, on the market. This is just one strategy of several. And I just wanted to show you the fastest way possible you can find these leads. So now that we have these leads actually on the screen, you can see the whole entire county is pulled up. What I like to do on this particular strategy is first sort from newest to oldest. So what I've done here is now the newest properties that are up on here are going to be showing at the top. And speed's part of the name of the game here. Speed, we want to be one of the first ones to call on these particular agents. So you can literally go click on this property, and now we have a profile of this property. You can go look at the photos, and I'm looking to see, is it distressed? And if I look at the outside of this photo, it may be old, and this is something that is worthy of a call potentially if it's distressed inside. And what I like to do is also look at the description. This is the description that the agent has made on this particular property. And if it says things like needs TLC, diamond in the rough, that's what I like to see. Or handyman special, or hey, perfect for a fix and flip, right? So there's all these leads. And what I like to say is like, there's 94 homes that Redfin lists as a fixer-upper. Call them all, but sort through the hottest ones first, the ones that look the most distressed. And so if we look at these photos of these properties, we can go through here. Okay, here's one right now. Beautiful. If I go look at this particular property, what I want you to see is this property is obviously in a distressed condition. There's no freaking flooring. The cabinets are all old. When we go over here, there may be cracks in this slab, but it's just kind of a dirty property, cracked tile as of right here. And here are outdated bathrooms that could absolutely be updated to current market trends. Landscaping is not too bad, kind of normal for a deserty area, but this is something that I absolutely like to look at. This is a property that I can see is in distress, right? So now we can go look at this actual description that we have here, and it says North La Quinta home is ready for a makeover. Here's, from doing this for so long, for doing this now for over 12 years, with TLC, it promises a substantial return on investment. So the agent is admitting that this is a potential investment. And TLC means tender loving care. So agents like to put that in there when it needs some work. And that's what we're looking for, properties that need work. So I love seeing that, right? The agent has admitted that this property is a fixer-upper. This is exactly what we're looking for. This is what we want to go after. This is what, I'm showing you in detail and taking my time, but literally in 1 minute, you could have pulled this up and found a distressed house, a distressed lead that you could call on. All right, so this property is relatively new on the market. It's actually 4 days on Redfin, 4 days on the market right here. And as you can see, there's 96 other properties. So you can just do exactly what I did to find these distressed properties. And then for the next step, what we want to do is call the agents in charge of the deals. Now, before we dive into the next step of calling the agents, I want to show you a quick little trick that you can do here. So let's say you have your filters, you have your county, you have fixer-upper selected and house. Well, right here, you can go save search and then have Redfin sends you on a daily basis any new property that comes up on the market. And you'll be notified when these new homes that are distressed, that are fixer-uppers, they'll be sent exactly to your email. So go ahead, do that. If you haven't signed up for a free account on Redfin, do it. Remember, it's free. So it's a quick little golden tip. And step number 2 is going to be call the agent in charge of the deal. Now that we have the lead we want to call on, you're ready to make a call to that real estate agent. So back on Redfin, to get that phone number of that agent, sometimes it will show the phone number exactly here, as you can see, and you can then give them a call to inquire about this deal. Most people just call this agent, have no idea what to say or why they're saying certain things. I want to dive into all the context behind this call, show you its importance, and what you have to do to ensure the highest likelihood of success when calling an agent. And then I'm going to get into what we want to say on the phone so that you can extract as much information as possible. So I call this initial call to the real estate agent the discovery call. And what a discovery call is, it's the first point of interaction and communication with a listing agent on a distressed property that we want to pursue to wholesale. And these are warm phone calls you make to learn more about the property and incentivize the agent to work with you. And on each discovery call, we talk with the listing agent over the phone to build rapport, incentivize them to work with us through dual commission or having a referral of them represent us as our buyer's agent, and or allow that agent to get the relist of the property once it's wholesaled to a cash buyer. And on each discovery call, we ask specific questions to learn more about the property, the seller's current situation, the activity on the deal, like the amount of offers and phone calls received, in order to position ourselves as the best buyer and best offer possible. And sometimes these calls take 5 to 10 minutes, and sometimes they'll take 20 plus minutes. But what's most important is to focus on quality conversations. The length is not as important as it is about the quality of the conversation actually connecting with this real estate agent. And so why are these calls so important? Discovery calls allow us to qualify or disqualify properties by communicating directly to the listing agent. By utilizing the MLS, and in this case Redfin, the issue we'll run into is never having enough leads. Instead, the issue is going to be which leads do we focus on and spend our time on. I wasn't showing you some beautiful, completely renovated property that wasn't distressed, right? So that's the thing. Most people get confused and spend their time on leads that have no chance of being wholesaled, that don't need to go for all cash, and that's not what we're doing here. Now, here's the criteria to use to decipher, is a lead worth investing time into, and effort and energy. Now, number one, is the property in a distressed condition and or is the seller in a distressed situation? And number two, did I have a quality discovery call with the listing agent? And is the listing agent open to working with me? And we dictate a quality call from, was the agent open and receptive to our dialogue? Is the agent open to representing us as our buyer's agent? Or do they have a referral representing us as our buyer's agent? Are we the first one to call or offer on the property, or one of the first ones? And from the discovery call questions, do we have a fighting chance of actually getting this deal under contract? So it's really important we do discovery calls so we can qualify or disqualify these leads, and we do it through this discussion with the agent. Now, reason number two, why discovery calls are so important, why we love them. Discovery calls allow us to financially incentivize agents to work with us, and that increases our chances of getting the deal under contract and wholesaling it. So we can incentivize the agent through dual commission, or getting it referred to a buyer's agent from the listing agent, and or letting the listing agent get the relist, so actually reselling the home once it's been renovated. Now, if the listing agent is unable to represent you or refer you to a buyer's agent, then if you are a licensed real estate agent, you can also make your offer more enticing to the seller by representing yourself as the buyer's agent and reducing or waiving your commission. Therefore, the seller is going to net more money and your offer looks more desirable. And this is because if you're a licensed real estate agent and you represent yourself as a buyer's agent, you can reduce your commission or waive it completely. And that means that the seller is going to net more, going to profit more with your offer because they do not have to pay a buyer's agent commission. And we'll put on the screen here what I've coined the hierarchy of representation. So always at the top, we want the listing agent to represent us. That's the goal. And in that situation, the listing agent would get dual commission, which is a nice incentive to go with our offer and to push for our offer to go through. Now, if that's not possible, or if the listing agent's not willing to do that, the next best thing, once again, is a referral from the listing agent to represent you as your buyer's agent, because then the listing agent gets a referral fee. Typically, 25% of that buyer's agent's commission, that listing agent will get from making a referral. That's not bad as well, and is a nice financial incentive. Now, once again, if you're not licensed, then use an investor-friendly buyer's agent to represent you as your buyer's agent, possibly someone in your network you met at a real estate investor association meeting, or if you don't know anyone, just call a warm distressed lead on the market on Redfin like I showed you how. And then that buyer's agent can write the offer for you and you can still get an offer in regardless. And then once again, if you're a licensed, you can represent yourself as a buyer's agent and you can waive your buyer's agent commission if you represent yourself. So that's the hierarchy of representation, and that's reason number two on why these calls are so important, these discovery calls. Now, reason number three why discovery calls are so important is that they allow us to build rapport and trust with the agent through the phone, which can lead to us getting this deal under contract and others. So many investors and wholesalers do not actually take the time to talk with listing agents over the phone. And right here, I'll list what most amateurs do and how we actually differentiate ourselves as pros. So those amateurs, they only text or email, and they never give the agent the time of day to actually speak over the phone to learn about them. So therefore, amateurs do not have any rapport or trust. And amateurs are actually scared to talk to real estate agents. Amateurs really take that mass marketing approach, which is not personalized at all. It doesn't really connect with anyone. So continue building these relationships with them, continue speaking over the phone, because there are so many amateurs who do not take that step, so many amateurs who only text or email. And most amateurs are unprofessional and don't treat agents as a potential friend, colleague, or human being. Most amateurs cause problems rather than have solutions. Most amateurs overpromise and underdeliver. We see this all the time. And most amateurs are transaction focused. They're so short-term focused. They'll stab people in the back, they'll cut corners, they'll burn bridges, or they know it or not. And most amateurs only want themselves to win. They're only looking out for themselves and never anyone else. But here's what we do as pros, and here's what I recommend you do. What we do is we actually talk to agents over the phone. We don't just text or email, we speak with them. And human communication is very important here. If every other investor or wholesaler on a deal only texts an agent and you're the only one who calls them, well, right there, you're going to be in the lead. Because at that point, you actually have an open forum, an open discussion with the agent, and can learn and extract as much information about this deal as possible as you go through your script and what you say to the real estate agent. And what's important to understand is that so much of our communication is not exactly what we say, but how we say it. And that allows us to build rapport and trust with these agents. And as professionals, we actually enjoy talking to real estate agents. We're not afraid to talk to them whatsoever. And we understand that listing agents aren't in charge of the deal. If we can befriend them, if we can incentivize them, then what I believe to be true is I can make all my dreams and desires come true. So we can wholesale this deal, and if we wanted to take it down as a fix and flip, we can do that. If we wanted to buy this deal as a rental, if it works out, then we can do that. If we befriend the agent, if we enjoy talking to them, then the likelihood of us getting this deal under contract and wholesaling it increases greatly. And we also have warm conversations with agents, right? We're not coming there, we're not being unprofessional, we're being very professional, and we're not just strictly talking about the deal. But we're also asking, how's their day going, right? How are you? Because there's so many investors that just cut straight to the chase, that are extremely cold, do not care about the agent at all. However, we care. We treat agents as friends, as colleagues, and as potential business partners, because very much so, they can actually become that. So understand that each discovery call you make is another connection point, another relationship you can build. And we want to make agents feel important because they are. Now, once again, if they're in charge of this deal, if we make them feel important, if they're on our side to get this deal done, and if they see where we're coming from, it will greatly increase the odds and our chances of not only getting this deal under contract, but any other deal this agent lists in the future. Because chances are, if they're listing a fixer today, they will list one in the future. So we want to make sure we have a great experience with them. And it's important to understand that this listing agent's doing something right to have a seller come to them and say, hey, I want you to sell this house for me. It's distressed, right? They have a network of distressed sellers, and we want to make sure that this agent becomes our friend. Now, as pros, we also solve problems, and we listen to the needs and wants, not just of the seller, but of this agent as well. And if you do this, you can be the knight or knightress in shining armor, and they're going to call us when that next deal comes up. They're going to call you when someone's giving them a hard time, or another investor or wholesaler is giving them a hard time, because we actually listen to them and they want to work with us. Real estate is a numbers game and relationships game, and we're focused on building these long-term relationships with agents. Because once again, if they're listing a fixture today, chances are they're going to be listing one in the future. So we keep tabs on them and we build long-term relationships. And as pros, we create win-win-win scenarios. So we want the seller to win. We want to give them a decent offer that allows them and helps them to get out of their distressed situation. We want the listing agent to win as much as possible, so we can incentivize them with dual commission, and we want them to make twice as much money or as much money as possible working with us. And we want them to be very excited to work with us. And we want our cash buyers to win. They're our financing and capital partners. It's how we like to look at them. And we want them to have a profitable deal. And you know what happens when everyone wins in the transaction? You win too, because now everybody wants to work with us, and now we get repeat business, and people are going to say great things about us, and we're going to have a great reputation. So that's what we do as pros, and this is what the discovery call allows us to do. Now, this call is so important because discovery calls allow you to extract as much information as possible from the real estate agent. What amateurs do and what most investors and wholesalers do is they only look at that property on Redfin or the listing sheet on the MLS, and they assume a deal is a good deal or a bad deal solely by just looking at it. And they don't even talk to the real estate agent. What we do is we don't assume. We go the extra little mile and we make discovery calls to discover more about the property, the seller situation, and whether we have a shot or not of getting this deal actually under contract. And we ask questions which extract information about this deal, such as what's the seller's reason for selling? Probably a pretty good question to ask the real estate agent, right? Or how many calls have came in on this property? Right now you're evaluating your competition. Or how many offers are there on the property? Now you're understanding about your competition as well. And are there homeowner offers or investor offers on the property? And questions like this allow you to see, is this an investment opportunity? Is this a deal I can wholesale or not? Now from there, you're going to be able to make powerful and well-informed decisions in order to get deals under contract. And the power is in extracting and obtaining this information by utilizing this one discovery call. And now I'm going to give you one of my favorite analogies so you understand the importance of this discovery call. So imagine you're playing Texas Hold'em, poker. And how it works is you usually have 2 cards that are face down, and so is your opponent. And then what happens is 5 cards get put out on the field, and then you get to play the best 5 cards from your hand and on the field. Well, when we don't even look at a property on the MLS, on the market, imagine it's like you can't see your opponent's cards. That's just how it goes. You cannot see the cards, you have no idea what they have, what they're holding, or anything along those lines. Now, when we look at the property on Redfin, like I showed you, and you see some photos of the property, imagine it's like your opponent flashing the cards to you. And if you remember what they showed you, you now kind of have like a blurry image of what they showed you. You don't know exactly what they have, but maybe it's one red card, one black card, and you're not sure what else is there, right? Well, when you make a discovery call, what happens is you ask these questions and you get information, and now the cards are clear. Now you know the cards that your opponent has. And in this analogy, if you don't call the real estate agent, you're never going to know what cards they're holding. And in poker, when you know what your opponent has, you now know where you need to offer. You know how much you need to bet, right? So the point of this call is to extract information, to see the cards that the seller is holding, to see the cards that the listing agent is holding, which allows you to make the best offer possible. So there's so many amateurs out there. Don't call a listing agent. Don't look at the actual listing sheet, and they're wondering why they're having a hard time. And what my business partner Ryan likes to say is that the deals are in the data, the deals are in the information. So we're extracting this information so you can make the best offer possible. So with this discovery call, you now have more information, you now have more data about this deal that allows you to make more informed decisions and more decisive offers in order to get these deals done, and gives you a greater chance of getting these deals under contract, rather than someone who knows less than you about the deal. This is part of the X factor that we do as pros that so many people don't do. And so probably in your mind, you can start to think, wow, these guys go really deep. And if they're doing all of this and thinking about these calls 10 times, 100 times more than me, I've done 10 times to 100 times more calls than me, they're probably gonna beat me out when I talk to a real estate agent. So lastly, reason number 5, why these calls are so important. These discovery calls give us the best possible chance to get a deal under contract. That's my belief. But what's important to understand is that it's not just about one phone call, right? You will make another phone call, and I'll talk about that here. And I always want you to expect that it's gonna take more than one phone call, but that initial call is so important. Always make a second follow-up call at the very least, and that the deals are actually going to be in the follow-up. So don't expect to have a one-call close. It can happen, and when the agents are willing and able to work with us right then and there, you will know, but always expect to make that second follow-up call where we can actually discuss the offer price or put in our offer terms as well. Now, most importantly, the more discovery calls you make, the better you will get, the more written offers you will send, the more deals you'll get under contract, and the higher likelihood you'll close these deals, and the higher likelihood you'll make more money. All right, now that you understand all the important context and know that you're going to turbocharge these calls now and treat them with the utmost importance, let's dive into how this call should go and what you can say. All right, now imagine we're calling on this distressed lead right here. We have the phone number of the real estate agent. Here's how the call can go. And you can say, hey, Louis, this is Alex with ABC Houses. How are you doing today? They'll probably say, hey, I'm doing great. How are you? And then you can say, I'm doing great, thank you. I want to give you a call about your listing on Lowry Street. Did I catch you at a bad time? Or are you able to chat about it right now? Now, most of the times they're in charge of this deal. This is a warm phone call. They want to talk about the deal. They want to get it sold. So then what I like to say is, great. Well, first off, I'm a buyer, not an agent. So would you be open to representing me as your buyer by any chance? And what we're doing here is we're offering this agent dual commission. If they say yes, then they're going to be able to make about twice as much money through representing us, because they get a commission as a listing agent, typically 2.5% to 3%. And then also the buyer's agent commission is typically 2.5% or 3%. So just that simple question, very nonchalant, rolls off the tip of my tongue. If they say yes, then they're probably going to be more open to telling me more information about this deal as well. And so we're looking to get that yes. And in this example, let's say we get the yes. I'm going to then say, great. So I'm curious, what's the seller's reason for selling? And I'm trying to understand the current situation of the seller. This is what a lot of people don't do. Sometimes on the MLS in the confidential remarks, it's going to show you the seller's actual motivation. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, but those confidential remarks aren't going to be on Redfin, which is why, one of the reasons we like to use the MLS. But when you ask that question, now a listing agent can actually tell you, you know what, they need to move in 2 weeks and they need a cash offer. They can tell you the seller's reason for selling. And like I told you, I'm looking for properties in a distressed condition and a seller in a distressed situation. And they're not going to tell me all the time, but sometimes they do tell me. So remember, the deals are in the data, the deals are in the information. And so at this point, I like to say, hey, thank you for uploading all those photos on the property. What would you say is the overall condition of the property? So I'm trying to have them explain to me more about this particular property, and maybe they're going to tell me things that I didn't see in the photos as well. And also, I'm trying to get this agent to, through talking to me about the deal, actually explain to me that it is distressed. And this is important psychologically so that when I offer, they know that this is a distressed property in a distressed condition. They're telling me how distressed it is, right? And then I try and pinpoint, are there any major issues on the property? So are there any major issues with the property, like structural, foundational, any faulty wiring or electrical issues? And these are things that aren't always on the MLS, or maybe there's cracked slabs, right? I want to know what's going on with this property. Is this going to be a cosmetic renovation, or are there going to be things that are additional on top of the cosmetic renovation that I don't know about, right? This is very important for me to know my numbers. I know my numbers down to the T. If you don't know your numbers down to the T, then you can't make the most aggressive offers and the best offers. Then I want to ask the agent, great, is there anything upgraded in the property? I'm just trying to find out, is the kitchen updated, the bathrooms updated? Then I like to ask the agent, are there any special features about this property that would separate it from other homes in the area? I want this agent to tell me, maybe there's a view, maybe there's something special about it that I don't know, maybe it's a big lot size that I overlooked and didn't see. Because now I'm thinking about the resale value of this particular property. I'm thinking about what will make this property stand out once it's sold. Because I actually need to sell this property to my cash buyers. So knowing these special features is very important. And then I like to ask the agent, what would you say this home would be worth in its best possible condition once it's been renovated? And this is something that I want you to take for a grain of salt. I never trust an agent's opinion on what a property will sell at once it's fixed, because if they were a professional real estate investor, then they probably wouldn't be listing houses on the MLS. But I like to listen to what they say. Sometimes they are accurate, and that then tells me, okay, this agent actually knows what they're talking about. Sometimes they're completely inaccurate. Sometimes they tell you the ARV, and it's actually what the property is listed at. And that tells me that they listed it way above market value. And if they're saying, hey, yeah, this needs $50,000 of renovation, and it's going to sell at $500,000, and the property is listed at $500,000, well, I know that I have room to negotiate. I know that they have an unrealistic representation of where they're actually listing this property and its current value. So this is a very telling question. And so questions like, how's the current activity been on the property so far? Meaning, have there been a lot of calls or offers on the property? And are those homeowner offers or investor offers or both? And how many? And are there any more offers that are planning on coming in? Then I like to ask this question. All right, thank you so much. And what price do I need to come in at to actually lock it up today? So I'm trying to have the agent tell me a price. Sometimes they tell me a price that completely works for me, that was actually lower than I anticipated. Sometimes they tell me a price that's higher, but it starts to give me a ballpark of where I need to be. Now, regardless of their answer, I then say, how flexible is that price, right? I just ask that every single time. How flexible is that? Because now they might beat themselves down $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, or they might stay. But it's a great negotiating question, and that's what I'm doing here. And then I like to ask, are there any specific offer terms that the seller would like to see in the offer? Because at this point, now I can actually negotiate with my offer terms. Maybe they need to close quickly, in 10 days instead of 14. Maybe they need to close later, 30 days. Maybe they need to close in 14 days, but have the property leased back to them in 30 days. So now I'm being accommodating. Now I'm being a solutions provider. Now I can potentially hear problems that are going on with the deal and actually solve them and help the seller out and help this listing agent out. And then I like to ask, when does the seller plan on and reviewing offers? Because at this particular point in time, I want to know, is the seller reviewing offers on Thursday at 2 p.m.? If that's the case, I'm going to follow up with this agent every single day and say, hey, where do we stand? What do we need to do to make our offer stick out? And then I'm going to follow up with that agent the morning of the offers being reviewed and say, hey, where do we stand? What do we need to do to make our offer stick out? So this is the extra mile I'm talking about in building a relationship with the agent so that you can have the best offer possible and increase your likelihood of closing these deals. Then you know me, I like data, I like information. I'll ask the agent, gotcha, and are you representing anyone else on this property by any chance? because I want to know, are they representing 10 other offers, or are they going to say, no, you're actually the only person I'm working with? That makes me feel good. It allows me to know where I'm standing. And as I'm sorting through all the leads and calls that I'm working on, we start to prioritize the ones where the agent's only representing us on the deal, the property's absolutely distressed, in a distressed condition, the seller's in a distressed situation. And so now it's moving up the pipeline. Now it's moving to the front, and it's increasing the likelihood, it's increasing the quality of this deal. That's why these questions are so important. And now what we need to do before we end the phone call is we want to extract as many deals as possible. So like I mentioned, it's not just about this transaction, it's about the relationship. And if a listing agent's listing a fixture today, most likely they're going to be listing a fixture tomorrow. So I always like to ask, great. And lastly, do you know of any other fixture type properties that we should be looking at? Maybe you're listing or listings you know of, not even on the market yet, that you can represent me on. We're looking to buy 5 more deals this month, and would love to have you represent me on each and every one. Right? So now sometimes agents know of deals that are coming to the market, and we can be the first one to offer on it. They may know of another deal that's off the market, and we can get a pocket listing, meaning a listing that no one else is offering on. So it's a very important question, right? I'm not just thinking about this deal, and I'm maximizing the call. I'm maximizing this call. That's the important thing. I'm asking all the right questions, I'm getting all the information, but I'm also asking about other deals. That's how one deal, one call can lead to many. Now, lastly, how I like to wrap up the call, I'm not making an offer on this particular deal as of right now because I haven't analyzed the property. I don't want to be the joker. I don't want to be the amateur that makes an offer then has to backtrack on his numbers. It's not what I do. So instead, I say, hey, great. We're in this business to build long-term relationships. I really look forward to working with you. I'm not just going to come in with some wild random offer price. It's going to be justified with some thorough research. And so now I'm going to meet with my team. We're going to discuss the property in depth, and then I'll get back to you as soon as possible with where we can come in at to make this property work for all of us. Does that sound good? Great. Thank you, Louis. Hey, pleasure speaking with you. I'll be calling you back shortly. All right, so now you know how to call agents. Step 1 was find on-market distressed leads. Now you know exactly how to call them with call 1. And now what we need to do is analyze the properties. That's step 3, analyze the properties. And I know some people are saying, oh my gosh, Alex, I need to analyze the property every single time before I call a real estate agent. And that's not the case. If you did that, you're gonna be so slow, you're not gonna be submitting any offers. I only wanna analyze properties that have a chance of going through, where the agent actually wants to work with me. Right? That's the important thing. So I don't analyze a property until I actually have a great call with the real estate agent. And that allows you to focus on the best deals possible. So now that we found the distressed deal, we made a great discovery call to the agent, they want to work with us, we now need to analyze the deal. And you can actually reverse engineer the deal by filling in these appropriate numbers. The purchase price of the property, this is your offer price, the wholesale assignment fee that you want, the repair price, and the ARV, the after repair value. And so you want to reverse engineer every deal that you have so you know exactly where you need to offer to make your desired wholesale fee and so that you have a profitable deal for your cash buyers. So first off, we're going to find the ARV. This stands for after repair value, which is what a property is worth after it is renovated. And we find the ARV by finding comps, which is short for the word comparables. And comps are properties with similar characteristics to the subject property, so the property we're analyzing, to wholesale. Now the best comps are sold renovated comps because these will allow us to determine the after repair value of our subject property. And as pros, we use sold comps to determine what the future sales price of our subject property will be once it has been renovated to current market trends. Without comps, you can't determine the ARV. Without comps, you can't reverse engineer a deal. Without comps, you can't make a strong offer. Without comps, your cash buyer is not going to want a deal. They can't even understand where it's going to sell at. So it's extremely important to get these down. To find comps, all you need to do is use your local MLS, that's our favorite, or in this case, use redfin.com or zillow.com. And here's exactly what you look for. Now, I'm not going to go into extreme detail here, but anyone can go onto Redfin and then draw a circle of a radius of 0.5 miles, go back 6 months, select the sold data, look at the beautiful properties, and so help me by helping yourself. I'll cover exactly what you need to look for, and then you can use this criteria on every single property to be able to find these comps. So what we're looking for are the type of property that's the same as the subject property. So if we're looking at a detached single-family house, we want to look at detached single-family houses. I don't want you to go look up multifamily apartment buildings. I don't want you to find mobile home parks or anything like that. We compare apples to apples, so houses to houses. Now the status of the comparables, we want to look at sold comparables. In the condition of them, we want to look at comparables in the best possible condition, ideally fully renovated. Because remember, we're trying to find the future sales price of this property once it's renovated. Now the sales date, we want to look at properties sold within 6 months. That's where we like to go max. And if you can find properties sold within 3 months, 2 months, that's fantastic as well. But 6 months is the furthest you want to go back. So don't go too far back because the market changes. So keep it within 6 months. And then the distance from your actual subject property, you want to have a 0.5 mile radius of the subject property. So when you use Redfin, you can look at Google Maps. You can say, hey, what's 0.5 miles of a radius exactly from the subject property? And then you can create a circle with it. Now we're also looking for comparables in the same city and zip code, because different cities and zip codes have different prices, and I want to compare apples to apples, right? If I'm looking in Claremont over here and La Jolla's over there, I want comps in Claremont. I think that makes sense, right? Now the size of the comparables, the living square footage of the property, always look at plus 20% or minus 20%. So if a property is 1,000 square feet, only go up to 1,200 square feet comparables, and then also 800 on the low side. That's plus or minus 20%. And then try and find comps with the same bedroom and bathroom count. So the property I'm looking at is a 3-bed, 2-bath. I want comparables that are also a 3-bed, 2-bath. I don't want to go look at a 5-bed, 4-bath now, right? I want to compare apples to apples, and that's how we get the ARV. So for this example, let's say we found these comps. We found 3 comps, and we see one that sold at $595,000, one that sold at $600,000, and one that sold at $605,000. Well, I know these are apples to apples. I know that my property is probably going to sell in that range, and I can just put $600,000 as my ARV. So it's that simple when doing comps. It takes a long time to master. It's simple. I wouldn't say it's easy. I didn't come out of the womb being the best at comping properties. It took practice, but that's essentially the idea of what we're doing here. We're underwriting the property, we're finding the ARV. So once we found the ARV, in this case, let's say it's 600, we need to calculate the repair costs, right? We're reverse engineering the deal from the top down. So repair costs are the amount of repairs needed to renovate the subject property to current market trends in order to actually achieve that ARV that we just found. Now, to be clear, as wholesalers, we don't pay for repair costs, right? This is something our cash buyers do. They're in the business of fixing up properties that we wholesale to them, and then they resell them for a profit. They will hire general contractors to manage and complete the renovation needed for the property. Now for us to determine the repair costs, we use the photos from the MLS, or in this case Redfin, in addition to the information told to us about the property from the listing agent on the discovery call in order to virtually estimate the repair costs for the property. Now at times you may actually have to go to the property if it needs a tremendous amount of work to get your numbers down to the T, and if there's only a few photos or little to no photos and the listing agent doesn't have much information. But a lot of times we're trying to do this from our computer without ever having to go to the property. And it's very important to be able to quickly analyze these properties. I'm talking about 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes tops. In the beginning, it's going to take you a little bit longer, but as you start to get good at this, you're going to start to understand shortcuts and how to analyze properties pretty darn quickly. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to go line item by line item on each repair item. That's something as a professional wholesaler, if you want to become great at this, you start to understand all those costs. But another way to understand repair costs greatly is once you start to network with cash buyers, you understand their repair costs. They may have some rules of thumb on what they do to quickly estimate cosmetic renovations on a property. So if I know it's $40 per square foot because I talked to my cash buyers and this property is 1,478 square feet, I'm just going to round up to 1,500 square feet and times 1,500 times 40. And then I know my estimated repair costs for a cosmetic renovation in this area is going to be $60,000 because I talked to my cash buyers. So that's how we can quickly analyze these properties. If I know that, hey, it doesn't need a new roof, there isn't a cracked slab, and it's just cosmetic, I know that $60,000 will more than cover it because I've talked to my cash buyers. So now that we have the ARV, we have the repair costs, now you can reverse engineer the deal. And what we use with our students is we use our deal calculator to know exactly where we need to offer at, and we talk to our cash buyers so we understand their minimum profit criteria. So I plugged in the numbers to our deal calculator with the ARV of $600,000 in this example, with $60,000 of repair costs, and I also include property taxes, insurance, utility costs. And what we like to shoot for on our deals is at least a $10,000 wholesale fee and assignment fee. So I know that from understanding my cash buyers numbers, from analyzing the property and reverse engineering it, that we can offer $445 and get a $10,000 wholesale fee on this particular deal. And that's pretty awesome. So what's important to understand is that most newbies are not using an in-depth calculator like this. Instead, what they're doing is something called the 70% rule. So let me show you how, when everyone on YouTube is using the 70% rule to be able to offer on properties for their cash buyers, how we can beat you out every single time. So if I was going to use the 70% rule, what that is take the ARV, multiply it by 70%, and that's supposed to remove costs like HOAs, closing costs, things along those lines. You multiply the ARV by 70%, then you minus the repairs needed, then you subtract your wholesale fee, and what that gives you is the maximum allowable offer that your fix and flipper is willing to pay, the maximum, all right? So I know with my deal calculator, this is important to understand, I can offer at least $445 on this property and make it work. We'll do some math here for the 70% rule, and this is where most people offer. So if I do 600,000 times 70%, I subtract my repairs, 60,000, and then I subtract my wholesale fee. All right, in this case, a newbie is only going to be able to submit an offer at 350,000. So I know through talking to my cash buyers, through being a professional, I can actually submit an offer at 445,000. That's $95,000 higher than a newbie can offer on this property because they're using paper napkin math. This is why it's important to use a deal calculator. This is why it's important to know your cash buyer's numbers. And I can very quickly just plug in my numbers, know exactly where I need to offer at for this particular property. So you can see speed is the name of the game here. And now I can quickly analyze these properties. So if you're using the 70% rule, if you're wholesaling on-market properties or off-market properties and you're getting beat out every single time, it's probably because you're using a very elementary rule like that. So that's not something we do as pros, but it's a quick rule to be able to estimate where you can offer. So today, what you can do, instead of using the 70% rule, use 80% instead of 70%, and that will probably give you a more aggressive offer that cash buyers are willing to pay. All right, and so for demonstration's sake, let me just up that number instead of 70% to 80%, just to make it easier on us, to give us a more aggressive offer that will work today. And we go here, minus 60,000, and then minus 10,000 for our wholesale fee. So great. Use a quick rule like the 80% rule now, you up it up. Now you can offer at $410,000, which is going to be a much more aggressive offer than, believe, the other one we had around $350,000. Because we're always trying to not only compete on price, and a lot of times we're not trying to compete on price, but when I can beat you out on price every single time and still make a $10,000 wholesale fee, $95,000, $30,000 above your offer price, I'm going to beat you out every single time, especially when I'm going out in depth, building relationships with agents, being a professional from day one. And now at this point, I can call the real estate agent back, letting them know exactly where I need to offer at, and now we can get a written offer in, get this thing signed, and get this deal closed. That's the goal. Hey, great job for making it this far. I want to congratulate you. Most people are just watching TikTok 60 seconds trying to learn how to do their fastest wholesale deal. Now, this way, when you actually have this training, you're going to be way more ahead of the competition. I think you're going to see. Watch all the other videos and then watch this one, and you're going to see the clear steps and exactly what you need to do to be able to make it happen. So once again, step 4 is make written offers and negotiate. So now that we know exactly where we want to offer at, we now call back the agent. And I like to call this the close call. So the first call was the discovery call. We extract as much information as possible. Now that we analyze the property, we know exactly where we need to offer at. I'm going to go tell this agent the offer price. I'm going to then close the offer price. My goal is to get a written contract, all right? And this close call is important because it allows us to talk through to the agent about our offer price, about our terms, and handle any objections that come up. And from the close call, we're able to try and be flexible with our offer terms rather than the price as much as possible to make our offer as desirable as possible. And I mentioned this example earlier, but if we say, hey, Mr. Agent, I can close in 14 days and they need to close in 7, we're willing to close in 7 days in order to make it happen, right? We're extracting this information and adjusting our offer terms rather than our price to make this deal work. Now for this close call, the goal of the close call is to have the agent agree to writing up the contract at your desired purchase price along with your desired offer terms. And if the agent is open to writing the contract for you, then ask them when they will be able to send the contract to you once you're able to send them the offer terms via email. And additionally, ask the agent when the seller plans on reviewing the offers, and this allows you to understand when the seller will potentially be accepting, countering, or rejecting our offer. And if the agent agrees to writing up the offer for you, you will send them the email offer terms, and then also attach the necessary documents needed. Now, once you have sent the offer terms email to the agent, follow up with either a courtesy text message or call letting them know you've sent the offer terms to them. I'll say, hey Louie, this is Alex. How's everything going? Awesome, I'm doing great. Just want to give you a call back as soon as possible on Laurie Street. We're really looking forward to getting an offer in today and having you represent us. So then what I like to say is, great, so let's talk some numbers on the deal. Sound good? Great. So I just finished meeting with my team to thoroughly analyze the property, its cost, the renovation, everything along those lines, and really accounting for all the work involved to bring this property back up to current market trends. And after accounting for everything, we'll definitely get an all cash offer in today with a 7-day inspection, a 14-day close, and we can offer at $445. So I like to just hold my breath right there, see what they say. They can either accept it, he could say maybe, and then we counter, we work on price, and or just flat out reject. No matter what, I'm trying to have them write the contract for me because an offer in is better than no offer, and I'll literally say that. If they say yes, then great. I'll send the offer terms with our proof of funds right over after this call to your email. And once I get the contract sent over to me, I'll sign it and send it right back over to you. Does that sound good? Great. Here's my email. Great. Now you can go ahead, get that offer in your email, and you're probably going to sign it digitally through something like DocuSign. And then if the agent says maybe or no, say, great, where would we need to offer at today to be able to make this work? And so now I'm negotiating. So sometimes you're going to be able to find an offer price that works, sometimes you're not, but we know that part of this is a relationships game, part of this is a numbers game. So if we don't get an offer in on this particular property, I mean, I want you to fight and scratch. We always fight and scratch for the written offers to be able to get them in, but if not, it's all good. Let's see if we can work on another property together. So in this example, let's say that the agent is open and willing to work with us. We need to now send the email offer terms to the agent. So when the agent's willing and open to work with you, we need to send them the offer terms via email so that they can put in your information into an offer and send it to you. And I mean the contract. So we need to send them the address of the property just to verify that that's the address. And you send them your business name. So purchaser, let's just say ABC Homes LLC. You need to send them your offer price. In this case, we can say $445. You need to send them the deposit amount. Now this is different in some different states, but in California, we put an earnest money deposit in. And let's just say in this example, it was a $5,000 deposit. This is typically refundable depending on your contract. So it's important that you always read the contract that you get. But this is refundable if you have an inspection contingency, which is important, which you want to use an inspection contingency to protect yourself. So in this case, let's say $5,000 deposit. And what's important about this, that's refundable in 72 hours on the contract that we use. So if we don't close on the deal in 72 hours, we have to cancel, then we can get that deposit back. Closing, what we like to say is 14 days or sooner. So I'm going to be malleable. If the seller needs to close in 30 or 45 days, I'll do that. If they need to close in 14 or 7 days, I'll do that. So I just always put 14 days or sooner just to know that, hey, I'm willing and flexible to work with you, but it's dependent upon what the actual seller needs to be able to close. Keep that in mind. Then contingencies, I just put a 7-day inspection contingency in there. So it's very light. Now this is something that's malleable too, meaning something I can shift. If there's other offers that have 5 days inspection contingencies, then I'm going to have a 4-day inspection contingency. So you can be flexible on that. Now, what I recommend for any newbie is always have an inspection contingency on your contract. What this means is if the property does not pass your personal inspection, you don't like the shade of grass, the color of green on it, then you can back out of the contract. So there's a lot of deals that you're going to put under contract and you need a backout clause, and this is your backout clause. So be sure to watch our other trainings, our other videos, so that you're very knowledgeable on this topic and understand how to back out of these deals when you need to. Then in there too, I like to put seller to deliver free and clear title, and then buyer's agent name. If they're representing me, I put their name as the buyer's agent, just to remind them that they're going to make twice as much commission on this deal from working with me. Now, the documents that you want to send with your offer, you need to do this to be a pro. Number one is a proof of funds. So you can get a proof of funds from a cash buyer, from a hard money lender, private money lender. You can use your own proof of funds. And what that is showing that you actually have the funds available to close on the purchase price of this property. When you have a business, you want to include your articles of organization or incorporation, something that shows that you're actually a valid signer for your particular company. If your name isn't on your articles, then what you want to do is submit your shareholders or operating agreement so that it shows that you're an owner of this company and you can sign for it. So these are the little things that make you a pro. These are the little things that the amateurs don't do. These are the things, after submitting thousands of offers, I know to do, because I used to not do this, and agents would say, hey, where's this? Where's that? Where's this? Where's that? And when an agent has to ask you for certain items and you're coming off as a professional saying you've done this before, then it's showing that through your actions, you have no idea what you're talking about, and you're actually making the job for the agent harder. So once again, if I was going to submit an offer at $445 and then you're coming in there at $445 too, and I submitted all the necessary documentation, I made it very easy for this agent, who do you think they're going to trust more, me or you? In this situation, me, if I include everything that's needed. Now we send these offer terms to the agent will write up the contract digitally, send it back to us, and then we can sign it digitally. be sure to always double check your contract, make sure everything's right, make sure there's no typos, make sure you have a backup clause, and make sure that you're all good. Now, like anything you watch on YouTube, talk to an attorney. I recommend doing that, making sure everything you're doing is by the book and everything is solid. You always want to do that. We work with different attorneys. But in this case, once the agent writes up the contract, sends it back to you, let's say it's all good, you sign it, you send it back to the agent. Now, we don't have a deal under contract. It's important that you understand that. We don't have a deal under contract yet. The seller needs to sign the contract. At that point, we have a binding contract, and then we can sell the equitable interest of that contract to a cash buyer and get a wholesale fee for that assignment, for assigning the contract rights from us to that cash buyer. So you're right there. We want to get the accepted offer, meaning an executed contract from the seller as well. So we did step one. We found on-market distressed leads. Then number two, we called the real estate agent for a discovery call. 3, we analyzed the property. 4, we made an offer and we negotiated if we needed to. And now we've got the written offer, we've got it executed, and now what we can do is close deals and get paid. So in order to wholesale your equitable interest in this contract, we now need to contact our cash buyers. And so with this particular training, I didn't make that a step because I assume you watched some of my other videos on the importance of finding a cash buyer first. But if you need to find cash buyers, be sure to do that first before doing any of these steps. So I'll include some videos here, and then also those videos and freebies on cash buyers will be in the description. But our main goal here is now to assign the deal and get paid. So what you need to do is once you found 3 to 5 quality cash buyers that are local in your area, actually doing deals, doing multiple deals per month, are fix and flippers, and are willing to get back to you quickly, we then want to assign the contract to them. So in this case, if our offer was at $445 and I want a $10,000 wholesale fee on top of that, I'm going to email my cash buyers their purchase price with my wholesale fee built in, so $455. I'm going to put the repair costs I put $60,000 because it shows that I'm a reasonable wholesaler. Hey, I'm making some numbers easy for you. And then I'm going to put the ARV, in this case $600,000, so that they can do the math, plug in their numbers, and quickly see, hey, is this a deal or not, something that will work for me in this particular situation. Now, when I email them, I'll also include any particular photos I have about the property. I'll include the comps for them to make their life easier. And then what I'll do is once I send them that email, I'll follow up with a phone call as well. Now, these are hot cash buyers. They want these particular deals. So once I send them the email, the reason why I don't call them first, I don't want to waste their time. When I send them an email, it's not in their inbox. If I call them, they pick up, hey, let's talk about the deal. Let's cover everything. I just have it in your email as of right now, and we can go over it right now and see if you want this deal or not. Now, if they don't pick up the phone call, then I'll shoot a text as well. But the goal is to talk to 3 to 5 cash buyers in your area that want your deals because you've already done that step as well. Now, it's very important to be familiar with your state contract as you start doing this and working with realtors. For example, in California, our contract says, hey, this isn't assignable by nature. But what you need to understand is that every contract is assignable by its nature, meaning you can transfer those rights to another buyer. That's what we like to do. But in California, if a contract says, hey, it's not assignable, then what do? We then get something called the assignment of agreement addendum. That means the seller, the buyer, and us, we all agree to assigning and amending this original contract. But if you're in a state like Texas that doesn't have a non-assignable clause in the contract, then you can reference our example of an assignment agreement that just needs to be between you and the buyer in order to assign this contract. So the assignment agreement that you can use as an example is in the description below, or you can work with an attorney in your area as well, refine one that you want to use so you can close deals and assign these deals in your area. And now that you've been able to successfully assign the contract, transfer those contract rights to the buyer, when the property is closed on, you can then get paid from escrow and title, your $10,000 wholesale fee in this example. And or if you're in an attorney state, the attorney's going to make sure you get paid $10,000 for your wholesale fee. And now you have a closed wholesale deal. So I know I went pretty long in these steps, but I wanted to make the most in-depth video on the fastest way to get your first wholesale deal with $0 in marketing costs. And congratulations, because you do this every single day. The more leads that you find on the MLS or on Redfin, the more agents you call, the more written offers you submit, the more deals you're going to get, and the higher likelihood you're going to make more and more money. Now, to make sure you're abiding by your state's laws, I actually created a freebie for you, and it has all the state's wholesale laws on it. In order to get this, just go to realstateskills.com/how-to-wholesale, and I'll put the link in the description too. And then there's step-by-step guides for every single state too. All right, you know what's awesome? This back in the day took me about 45 days from knowing absolutely nothing to being able to do my first deal. So now imagine what's possible when I broke this down for you. I gave you over 10 years of trial and error. I've seen people do this in 14 days, 17 days, 21 days. So the possibilities are really endless for you. I'm not saying, hey, if you don't get a deal in 14 days, don't be disappointed. Keep doing it, right? We've been doing this for over 12 years and we've been consistent with it. This is not a 30-day thing. This should be a lifetime thing. I've been in real estate since a very young age and I have no reason to get out of real estate. So have the right expectations. Know that, hey, if this doesn't happen in 14 days, 17 days, 21 days, 30 days, keep on going, right? And now I want to cover the 7 vital tips that are absolutely crucial for you to succeed at these steps. So tip number 1, use the MLS to find houses in a distressed condition and distressed situation. And I had to put this as tip number 1. I know you know this by now, but so many people are going to go after properties that don't need major repairs, that have everything that's new on it. But we're looking for properties that have that old electrical wiring, that have those cracked slabs, that have the fire damage, that need the new flooring, that need the new cabinets, needs the new bathrooms, right? Because these properties can be purchased with all cash. And if a property has to be purchased for all cash, then it's usually a great property for an investor. And it's important to understand that the average home buyer can't buy this property because the average home buyer needs to get a mortgage on the property. And if a property is in distressed condition, that average home buyer can't get a mortgage on the property because it's too risky of an investment for a bank to lend on it and to give a mortgage on it. And then we need properties in a distressed situation. So divorce, death in the family, short sales, so pre-foreclosure, properties that have actually been foreclosed on. The seller needs to move quickly. The seller lost their job. There's dozens and dozens of other reasons, but we extract that information through that discovery call. All right, so most newbies don't target these properties and will compete against first-time home buyers and on a brand new property, and they'll wonder why, hey, why doesn't this work? But we know it works because we go after properties that are in a distressed condition and in a distressed situation. So be sure to understand this tip. And tip number 2, ferociously pursue properties with the status of active. This is very important. So on the MLS, on Redfin, there's properties that have different statuses. So active, contingent, pending, sold, expired, withdrawn, and canceled. So we, as professionals, we ferociously pursue active properties because it means that property is currently active for sale. And you have the highest likelihood of getting a property with the status of active under contract versus any other status, right? If a property is sold, it's already sold. You can't get it under contract. If a property is pending or contingent, it means it's already under contract. So active means the seller is willing to sell their house right now, and the seller of the house and the listing agent are currently accepting offers. All right, so very important. And a quick ninja tip too, some MLSs, some Redfins will show you that, hey, there's BOM, back on market properties, which means this property is back on the market and active. It was contingent or pending, it was under contract, now it's back on the market, so ferociously pursue those properties as well. Now tip number 3, so many students and myself, we've wholesale deals successfully because we were the first one to call on the deal. And now if you can't be the first one to call on the deal, it's completely fine. Calling on the deal as soon as possible is still important. So for example, being the second person or third is better than being the 10th, 11th, or 12th. So remember, be first, speed is the name of the game. And tip number 4, always remember the list price is flexible. So many newbies think that if a property is listed for $510 on the MLS or on Redfin, that it has to sell at that price. That's absolutely not the case. And let me give you an analogy for this. So if I want to go buy a used couch on Craigslist.org, right, a marketplace, if I find a couch that's listed for $600, but I don't want to pay $600, I want to pay $400, then what am I going to do? I'm going to offer $400 for this couch. Now what can the seller do? They can accept it, they can counter it, they can reject it, right? So in this case, I'm negotiating. I'm offering where I want this couch to be. I'm offering at the price that I want to buy it. So it's the same thing on the MLS, on Redfin. Just because it's listed at $600,000 doesn't mean you need to offer at that price tag. You need to offer at the price that works for you. So back to the Craigslist analogy. If the couch is $600 and I offer $400, let's say that seller is willing to sell it and just says yes, or maybe they say, hey, you know what, $425. You do $425, we make it work. Then perfect, I'm negotiating and we're able to then come to a price that works. So a lot of times you'll see on Craigslist, someone will list something for sale, but then they'll put OBO next to it. And that means or best offer. That's how you need to look at every listing on the MLS. There's going to be a price like $510,000 or best offer, OBO next to it. So you need to offer at the price that works for you. Now, tip number 5 is to focus on relationships over transactions. So every discovery call you make is an opportunity to develop a relationship with a listing agent. And people remember how you make them feel, not what you say. So make listing agents feel important because they are, and the listing agent is in control of the deal. Now, here's an important stat. According to the National Association of Realtors, the typical seller has recommended their agent once since selling their home, and 20% of sellers recommend their agent 4 or more times since selling their home. So this is very important to understand because let's just say we're calling on a property that's in a distressed condition, distressed situation. We find out that the seller has lost his job and that this company has done 1,000 layoffs. Let's say the seller's name is Bob, likes working with this real estate agent, and we get this property under contract and we wholesale it. Then let's say Bob's friend who also worked at the company also lost his job and needs help selling his property. So he talks to Bob and Bob says, hey, you know what? I use this agent. I'm going to refer my agent to you. Now, because we have a great relationship with the agent and we closed the deal, we did what we said we're going to do, the agent likes working with us, who do you think the agent's going to go to next? Right? Well, according to the National Association of Realtors, the typical seller, Bob, will recommend their agent once. And then 20% of sellers will recommend their agent 4 or more times selling their home. So with that knowledge, with that data, the relationship is so important. If you have a relationship with that agent, then chances are they're going to list another fixer-upper. And if that agent likes working with you, then why wouldn't they want to work with you again? And that's how one deal, one relationship leads to many. So what I want you to do with this tip is strive to develop long-term mutually beneficial relationships with listing agents. Remember, one deal leads to many. On-market deals can actually lead to off-market deals. Do not be transaction focused, be relationship focused. Now, tip number 6, this one's extremely vital too. Written offer sent is the most important KPI, key performance indicator. So many amateurs think that sending a text or leaving a voicemail, having one phone conversation or sending an email or saying an offer price for a house verbally is considered an offer sent. And this is where a majority of wholesalers, newbies, and real estate investors go very wrong. So for us as pros, a written offer sent is actually getting that written contract back from the agent and then signing it and sending it back to the agent. That is the best thing. That is the best KPI. Because now at that point, all the seller needs to do is sign the dotted line and we have a deal under contract. So if we take two investors, the amateur and the pro, let's say this amateur only makes verbal offers, never sends any written contracts, and they send 100 verbal offers in a month. Hey, I'll buy the house at 500,000. And the agent's like, okay, let's get a written offer in. But let's say the professional gets 100 written offers in, knows what he's doing, fights to get the written offer in, gets 100 written offers in. So all the seller needs to do is sign the dotted line. Who do you think is going to get more deals? Verbal offers or written offers? I'd bet all my money on the guy who is submitting or the girl who's submitting written offers. So that distinction is very vital for you to understand because where most people suffer and quit is they'll send the text message saying, hey, I'll buy the house for 500, and then it doesn't go anywhere because they don't talk to the agent because someone else sent them a text and they don't have any rapport with the agent. So always get that written offer. And what my business partner Ryan likes to say is that an offer isn't real unless it's in writing. So that's what I believe to be true too. So written offers is the most important KPIs. A written offer is going to beat a verbal offer every single day of the week. Now, tip number 7, what you need to understand is that every no you get gets you closer to a yes. So there's something, I'm not sure if someone else created or whatever, but I like to call it the law of no. And my belief, my personal belief is that the most successful people get the most no's. And so when you get rejected, when you call agents and find agents that don't want to work with you, when you submit offers and that offer price doesn't work, you're that much closer to then getting a deal done. When you put a deal under contract and you don't know what you're doing and you put it under contract way too high of a price, but you're protecting yourself with a back out clause, and now your cash buyers tell you, no, you don't want this deal. Guess what? You're closer to that yes. So what's important to understand is there's no such thing as failure in life, in real estate, and what we do here, there's just feedback. So instead of failure, there's feedback. And what most people do is they confuse quitting and stopping and stop working towards their goals and stop submitting offers and stop making calls and stop analyzing properties. They call that failure, but all they really did was quit. Instead, what we do is we take it as feedback. So if a listing agent says, no, hey, that offer doesn't work, well, what price does work? I'm just getting feedback. If I get a deal under contract, my cash buyer says, hey, you know what, that price doesn't work. Well, what price does work, right? I need to know. What most people do is they stop there, they quit, they say, hey, this doesn't work. But probably by now you've seen enough people do this and actually wholesale deals and actually then go on to be awesome real estate investors that fix and flip property while still wholesaling and then reinvest their capital into buying and holding rental properties. So why not you, right? And the only difference here, this tip, why I put it last, because we accept that every no that we get is closer to a yes. And I want you to embody this too, because this is not only going to help you in real estate, this is going to help you in every single area of your life. Every single area. So if you embody this, as you can understand, this isn't just real estate, this is also personal development. When you look at failure as feedback and not as actual failure, then you're going to continually improve and get closer to wholesaling that first deal and probably actually wholesaling it. So those were my 7 vital tips for you to be able to get that first deal the fastest way possible without spending any money on marketing. And I know this video is probably like drinking water out of like a fire hose. So what I did was I actually created free training that goes into these concepts more with case studies to help you get your first deal as fast as possible using this same exact strategy. So to go there, if you want to tilt the scales in your favor, if you want to learn more, go in depth and accelerate your progress, then just go to realestateskills.com/training, and I'll be sure to put that link in the description down below too. So there you have it. We covered the fastest way to your first wholesale deal with 0 marketing cost, and we covered the vital tips needed in order to be successful with this strategy. And if you feel like this video helped you, then comment fast down below so I know that, hey, this training resonated with you. And if that's the case, then I'll create more exactly like this one. And so please go ahead, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell because we'll be coming out with more great content around wholesaling, fixing, flipping, and all things real estate. So I'll see you in the next video. Talk to you soon.